Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. It's that time of the season again. The SPFL campaign kicks off on Friday night, and I'm joined by my co host, Ethan Barlow, to give our 2026-27 SPFL predictions. And I am extremely excited. There'll be some mad predictions in here. If you've ever seen me before, on if you've ever seen me before on a podcast, you know I hit out with some mad stuff. And of course, my more level-headed co-host Ethan Barlow balances me out a little bit with some of his predictions.
Yeah, well, I do try to, but it's almost impossible to get everything right. As we found out last season, it was one of the most unpredictable seasons I think in Scottish football history, and I don't think our predictions at the start of the season were the best. But I'm going for to try and get 12 out of 12 for the league table this season, and then all the other sort of award predictions were given out when it comes to individual awards as well. And as you said, I'm really excited to get through this and obviously hear what you have to say to some of my predictions, and then give my rebutes to what you have to say.
Okay, yeah, no, there's sure to be some heated debate. We have some other categories to predict as well, and we'll just pepper those throughout the video. But we'll start on the league table with the 12th position. Who will be getting relegated this season, Ethan?
Well, I go first. Okay, well,
Yeah, you go first. We'll see.
I dislike saying this because it can be seen as quite a boring prediction and an easy prediction, I would call it. But I genuinely do think that this team will finish in this position, and it is unfortunately newly promoted St Johnstone. I think they are the weakest side coming into the start of the season. Obviously, they've done excellently in the Championship last campaign under Simo Valakari, following up from, I think he ended the Premiership season before, not in the best fashion, but certainly an improvement on the managers gone before him. And I think they will really struggle. They've had a massive squad turnover, lost a lot of players with experience of Premiership football. Of course, a lot of them in the later stages of their career, I will say. But I just think it's a step too far for St Johnstone, as we've seen with the likes of Livingston in the last few seasons when they've come up. And you've seen last season they brought in loads of players, but I think it sometimes it always comes down to a matter of quality over quantity, and I just don't think St Johnstone carry enough quality going into this Premiership season. And I think you possibly seen that in the League Cup group stages when they didn't progress and disappointed. So yeah, unfortunate because you always like to see the newly promoted teams come up and do well, and we've been lucky to see that with Falkirk and the two Dundee clubs recently. But I think it'll be a step too far for Simo Valakari and St Johnstone. I think they may go straight back down.
Okay, that's an interesting take there. I do have a Saint in 12th position, but it is not St Johnstone. I have the Buddies, unfortunately, going down. St Mirren, yeah, I think their recruitment's been poor. A couple of them look decent. I mean, Isosa Sule looks like he's going to be a good player. So does Samuel Ramos. I don't think the rest of it has been strong enough. I mean, signing a guy for Airdrie who scored 4 goals last season, I think is mad. They're signing guys who haven't played a lot of professional football, including Isosa Sule as well. So that could go wrong. I mean, their goalkeeper, Jacob Chapman, doesn't look the most assured. And I think my biggest reason is I don't rate Craig McLeish. Um, I think St Mirren will really struggle. I think actually, if if we end up doing I don't know, Ethan, if we're going to do a first manager sacked, I think I'd probably go for him. I think St Mirren are yeah are going into quite a tough time. I think it'll be tough for the St Mirren fans. It'll be a rough watch. Um, they weren't, although they did progress, they weren't the best in the League Cup. They managed to pull back a 3-0 deficit and win 4-3 against East Kilbride. However, East Kilbride are a newly promoted League One side, and our good friend Robbie Collins mentioned that if something like that happens in the Premiership, they're going to be in big, big trouble. So yeah, I've got St Mirren down at 12th.
Yeah, well, I think that's a fair shout as well. I'm not. I think we obviously need to leave the arguments and debates a little bit until later on because you don't want to give away who each of us have further up the table or where we have each respective team that we've said will be relegated. So, do you want to just move on to 11th place now in the relegation playoff?
Yeah, and I'll go first on this one. At 11th, I have St Johnstone. Um, you obviously have them bottom. I have St Mirren bottom. I think that they will just edge it because of their manager. Like you, Ethan, I'm not particularly impressed by their recruitment, by their squad, but I think Simo Valakari is a much better manager than Craig McLeish. So, yeah, for that reason, I've got the Perth Saints just finishing above the Paisley Saints and avoiding the automatic drop.
Yeah, well, I think this may be certainly my surprise shout of the predictions. There's no disputing that, and I don't think you might have seen this coming, and maybe the viewers or listeners not going to see this coming. This is a bold shout, I will say that, and this may come back to backfire in my face, but I think after an excellent season last campaign and an excellent rise to the position they got to. Um,
Wow, I know what you're gonna say. Oh my God. I mean, I had a similar thinking to you, but I have them a bit further up the table than this.
well, is it the same team? I think it may be, but I'm going to go with John McGlynn's Falkirk to finish in 11th place.
Second season syndrome, my word.
Yeah, yes, exactly that. Second season syndrome, and maybe not a coincidence that my bottom two are the two sides not to make it out of the League Cup. I think that's certainly played into my thinking, short term thinking, I know, but I think there's a lot of things to take into consideration with Falkirk at the moment. Of course, they've lost some key players, none more so than Calvin Miller, the major creator in their team, or Barney Stewart, the major goal scorer, certainly in the second half of the season after coming back from his loan spell. And of course, the John McGlynn situation. Is he going to be the next Scotland manager? Well, I think whether he is or not, that is going to play on the minds of not only himself, but probably his players till the SFA sort of select their man. And it may be John McGlynn. So I think that these are all going to really make it difficult for Falkirk. And I think we've seen second season syndrome for newly promoted teams recently. You think of Dundee United, Dundee, who came up and like Falkirk shot straight into the top six in their first season, if memory serves correct. But the second season was a lot less pretty. You remember Dundee under Tony Docherty recently, the season before last now, scrapping at the bottom of the table in the last day to survive in the pitch invasion. So, yeah, I think it'll be a difficult season for Falkirk, and I wanted to put in a little bit of a bold prediction so that maybe not all the other ones that I say are boring. So yeah, that's my bold prediction that Falkirk will finish in 11th. I'm not saying they'll go down, but I think they'll have a really tricky season, especially with the rumours surrounding John McGlynn.
Okay. Wow, Falkirk in 11th. So as it stands, I have St Mirren and St Johnstone in the 12th and 11th spots. Ethan, you have St Johnstone and Falkirk, the first big call of the podcast. I mean, like I said, you'll find out where I've got Falkirk, in a wee minute. Well, not in a wee minute, but maybe a couple positions. But that is that is crazy. I can't. Oh, that is mad. Do you think they'll stay up in the playoffs?
I know I had to say now I don't think they'll get relegated, but I was just looking at their squad and you know I do. I'm not saying John McGladen's not a good manager, but there's a number of managers on here that I don't think are bad managers, so to say. But I think they're going to struggle because I think it's just a really competitive league, and I think if your mentality's not 100% right in this division for the upcoming season, then you'll be punished. And I think there may be distractions which Falkirk can't control, unfortunately, and losing your two best players is obviously something that's difficult to overcome. And probably, I would say maybe just behind, well, Hearts and Motherwell, obviously, unless anyone else is coming to mind, that probably the team that's lost the most. Maybe another one, which I'll get on to shortly, but I wouldn't say they're players that have lost are maybe had as great an impact as last season. The two Falkirk ones I was speaking about then.
Okay, okay. 10th position, Ethan. I'll throw it back to you to go first.
Yeah, the team I was just referencing to, and it's Dundee FC in 10th. I do want Stephen Presley to prove me wrong, like he did last season, but more on the same of what I spoke about with Falkirk. I think they've just lost so many, not so many, but they've lost a few key players, which are just inadmissible when I'm looking at the current squad. Obviously, the wingers, Cameron Congreve and Tony Egan, who's obviously ended up at Aberdeen now. Luke Graham, who they did get an excellent fee for, of course, but you could argue that was their three strongest players last season. And the signings coming in, there's a lot of unknowns. I think Stephen Presley's recruitment was good last season, which is why I've not got them lower. But as I said, I think it's just a really difficult league to call. I think Alan Forrest could be a decent signing for them. Obviously, got experience across the leagues in Scottish football. And as we've seen against in the League Cup against Airdrie and Clyde, where they scored 13 goals in 3 games, I don't think they'll maybe struggle to score, but it's not obviously going to be as easy when it comes to facing Premiership opponents week in, week out. But yeah, as I said last season, and I was, as I think all three of us when we done the prediction, me, you, and Laurie, of course, that we were happy to be proven wrong when we put Dundee right down the bottom. Happy to be proven wrong again, and I think I could be because I think Stephen Presley, like John McGlynn, and I would like Simo Valakari, I think are good managers, but I think it's just difficult with the squad that he's got at his disposal at the minute at Dundee, and I think they'll finish 10th. But I think they'll avoid relegation, but not enough to really progress on what was a decent starting season at Dens for Presley.
Okay. That is interesting. Because I too have a Dundee side. However, I have Dundee United in the 10th position in the league table. I was not being impressed by them in um, pre-season and the Premier Sports Cup. I think they haven't signed particularly well. And for me, Jim Goodwin, since he's sort of stint at Aberdeen, has sort of fallen out of the good manager category for me. I don't really rate Jim Goodwin. These teams are so inconsistent, um, and I think they will fall into the 10th position. I don't think it will be a good season for Dundee United. And yeah, well, that's what I think. However, I do have their noisy neighbours in ninth position, for a lot of the reasons you've said. I think it will be tight. I will preface this by saying I did sort of and ah over which Dundee side I would put in 10th and ninth, but I've just edged it towards the dark blues, finishing just above their street rivals instead of their city rivals. Also, but yeah, I do agree with a lot of what you've said, Ethan. But I think Dundee will just pip their rivals to ninth position.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of fair points there, especially obviously speaking about Dundee United because I've not placed them yet, and I will still not be placing them yet because I think even putting this team at ninth place, and I think you probably guess who it is, St Mirren. I understand that this is somewhat of a risk putting them this high because I do understand the frustration amongst the St Mirren fans with the appointment of Craig McLeish. But I do also think that they made some decent signings. I know that you are less sure on some of them, but I think it was a decent job by McLeish to get them over the line and to be able to sort of turn the sinking ship around and able to get them to survive as a Premiership team after what Stephen Robinson had really left behind for him. And I think for a young coach like himself, he gets a pre-season under his belt with his players to really sort of prove himself as a top coach at the top level of Scottish football. And I think it's a real. I'll get on to other managers, which I think is the same scenario, maybe later in their careers of coaching. But I think it's a sort of make or break season and somewhat for McLeish. That not a make or break, but he could certainly start it in the right.
Sorry, a bit of breaking news. Casper Hogg is now officially a Celtic player.
Oh, there we go. There we go. The announcement that I think everyone knew was coming is officially there, and I've actually got a sort of a question for you involving him, which I haven't told you about yet. I'll throw that on you later in the episode. But yeah, they St Mirren managed to score 4 in 3 of their League Cup wins before that controversial defeat against Dunfermline, which we spoke about on the recent episode. I think the players will somewhat buy into what he's doing because he does try to play a very expansive brand of football, and I like some of the signings, and I think you mentioned both of them. Isos Sule, I think he has a lot of promise, and was really disappointed to see that he never really got the chance to fulfil that at Motherwell. Obviously, got the big injury. And Samuel Ramos, which I think we're gonna find as a bit of a theme of today's episode, with the Slovakian league has become quite a place for Scottish clubs to shop. I've noticed, and
Yeah, well, Kilmarnock brought in Roshan Mathern from there as well, I'm sure.
yeah, and there's been a couple more as well. I think obviously Kizarides, the main one from last season, but yeah, Samuel Ramos looked really good, scored and assisted in the League Cup, and I think he's going to be central to anything St
Had a
Mirren.
perfectly good goal ruled out as well against Dunfermline.
Yeah, but I will caveat that all of what I say was saying by saying they have lost key players. I would say if I had to pick out three,
And they
probably.
have a bad manager.
We'll see. We'll see. People wrote off Stephen Presley, and look what happened. Yeah, Mark O'Hara, Miguel Freckleton, and Shamal George are probably the biggest of the departures. But we'll see if they've replaced them well enough to stay in the division. But as you said, I think it'll be really tight down there in that bottom half. Probably more
Yeah.
so than it will be at the top half. Unlike like most seasons in recent history, obviously not last campaign where we get an excellent title race.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we move on to the eighth place position, we've been speaking about living up to expectations, potentially falling off from the performance levels of last campaign. But we've got a category here about players who we think will rise to the occasion, who will show that they are better than what they have been. And we've decided to do a prediction for most improved, and also for breakout stars. Um, and because we barely get anything right, this was Ethan suggesting, we're going to bring 3 players to the table for each. So for most improved, I'm going to start because it's kind of well, maybe it could be breakout more for him. I'm gonna go breakout. Actually, I'm gonna start on breakout with this player because ever since we brought up these categories, it's just been playing in my mind. For my breakout star, I'm gonna go with a bit of an interesting one. Um, I'm gonna go with Paul Enciso. I He is due to go out on loan to St Mirren after he signs a contract extension at Rangers. If that goes through, I think he will have a really, really good campaign. He really impressed at Wraith Rovers last season. I think he's a really, really good player. I enjoy watching him play. He's versatile. He's good. He's good on the ball. And despite me predicting St Mirren to finish in last place, I think getting that first team experience out on loan will be really, really valuable and possibly fire him into a scenario maybe like Finlay Curtis that we're hoping will be the same for Bailey Rice as well, where he can get good experience and make an impact on the Rangers team the following campaign.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting one and one that I can probably get behind. That move to St Mirren would be one to probably try and maximise his development. I think it's a comment you made in the last episode about Rangers loaning out their younger players to Premiership clubs, which gives them sort of immediate experience at the top level. Obviously, as you said, with Incio, he did have experience in the Championship last season, and yeah, a lot of no pun intended, rave reviews from the Rafe Rovers fans. But I am going
You
to
were
go.
you were slaughtering me the other day.
I wasn't intended though. I wasn't intended, but I had to say it so that people knew it wasn't intended. Where am I going to go for my first player here? I'm going to go for one of my most. I'm going to, you know what, we're going to stay in Govan with Rangers. I'm going to go for one of my three most improved players. I think we've spoke about this quite a lot, but Yusuf Chermiti, I think, is going to be one of the most improved players this season and is going to not fulfil the expectation that was set on him when he joined Rangers because with his goal record there wasn't much of an expectation, but for the price paid, I think he will delight the Rangers fans this season and will give a lot better goal return. Not that his goal return last year was too bad, but I think his just overall play will be a lot better with him developing, and I think the Rangers fans will be really happy that they signed him after this season.
I think as well you can see he's a confidence player, and once he started getting a few goals in, he took off. And the thing about Chermiti is, this sounds like I'm describing he's like a world class player, but he can do things that not many strikers, especially in Scotland, can do. You know, he can pull off, spectacular goals. He's good in the air. He's all right with both feet. His link up plays very good. He's good at holding up the ball. Um, and yeah, he's probably a nightmare to play against as well. So I agree with that, Ethan. I think that's a good shout. And down the line, you might hear me talking about Yusuf Chermiti a little bit for one of our other categories. But there's a wee teaser there. So I'll go I'll go I'll jump from breakout to most improved. And I this is one that I was sort of thinking about, and I don't know if it particularly counts, because never. I'll just go for it. I'm going to jump over to Parkhead, and I'm going to back Sebastian Tenetke to have a really good campaign.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think he has something. I feel like him and Diego Gassama are quite similar. Flashes of brilliance from the two of them. They just need to put it together. And I think no, like I said, Chermiti. There's not many people in the league that have his abilities. I don't think there's many people in the league that can dribble like Sebastian Tenetke. And if he can put it together, I think you're looking at a £20 million sale there, or perhaps he sub to good numbers. So I'm going to back him to have a good campaign.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, and I think that's always been the thing with Taneke. It's the end product which has been lacking, the goals and assists, and just when he gets to the byline, when he's beat a player or two, that the cross sometimes isn't the best. But that's what he's obviously been
Well,
at.
remember as well, that was the issue for a long time with Daisen Maeda.
Yeah, it was, and you could still maybe say that sometimes Dysamitis end product's not the best and technically not the best, but obviously we spoke about him. we spoke about him yesterday, why he offered so much to Celtic. Do you think I should offer one more of I'll offer one of my breakthrough stars, and then we go back to the predictions, and then maybe go back to them later.
Yeah, if you want, mate, if you want, yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, I'll go for one of my breakthrough Scottish stars, and I am going to go for. I'm going to go for Charlie Riley of Dundee. I think he will have
Okay.
a big season. Showed a little bit of potential last season when he got his minutes, and I think he done well in the League Cup. Got a couple of goals, and I think with the obviously departures of Congreve and Ugan going back to their parent clubs as it was, then I think he'll have the opportunity to get minutes and really catch the eye.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will be quite a good player. He did impress me a few times the last campaign. I remember. I'm thinking, where has this kid been? I think he has struggled with injuries, hasn't he, Charlie Riley?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so we hope he can stay fit and show his ability because it's definitely there. Help Stephen Presley's side to a reasonable finish in the Premiership this season. But yeah, well, that'll do it for our starting on the breakout stars and most improved players. And we'll move on to the rest of the Premiership predictions. Okay, now moving on to the eighth place positions in the Scottish Premiership. I'm going to start. Um, Not quite as harsh on this side as Ethan, but I'm going to go with Falkirk for a lot of the similar reasons. I think they'll still be all right. I think they will perhaps even be challenging for a top six spot, but they won't. I don't think they'll be anywhere near as good last season. Like I said, they've lost Calvin Miller, they've lost Barney Stewart. Um, they've lost those crucial players. Um, Although last campaign we weren't really impressed with Falkirk's recruitment either, and look what happened. So I guess we'll need to see how it plays out. But I've got them in eighth position.
Yeah, fair enough. I've went in eight for a team you've already mentioned, and I agree with a lot of what you said. And it is Dundee United. I think it will be more of the same for Jim Goodwin's team, but I am probably open to them finishing a little bit higher. And the reasons are because I think the squad's in a really solid place. I think the return of Jack Walton's a good signing. And obviously bringing Jordan Amissa back to Scottish football as the backup maybe sorts out what a problem area for them from last season. The defence looks okay, especially if they're able to keep Will Ferry. Of course, as we spoke about, I think on the maybe we spoke about on the last episode being live if I moved. I don't know how much truth is in that. I think Dylan Tate is a really decent addition, and obviously to the detriment of Falkirk. And then I think all four of the strikers or the attacking options look really promising. Obviously, we know all about Zachary Sapsford from his goal tally last season. Obviously, went back down under again to get Lachlan Rose, who combined with his fellow Aussie to score six of Dundee United's eight League Cup goals. Also got a Jesse Mesoko on loan from Victoria Pilsen, who had spent last season at Spartak Trnava in Slovakia again. He scored in the League Cup also. And another player from the A-League, New Zealand international, Jesse Randall. So I think they have a decent squad, Dundee United. I know they usually in recent years have had a big turnover. I think this season less so. And I think there is potential for the Tangerines to go far and go high in the table this season. But as you said, I think sometimes things have been a little bit stale in recent times with Jim Goodwin at the helm. So I think that may hold them back a little bit. But then again, you could look on the flip side and say that Goodwin's been a part of that, been with that squad for a while now, and they have a good connection. So I think it'll be a decent season for United, but no more.
Yeah. Okay. That's a decent point. Uh, what was I going to say? Can't remember now. Anyway, great podcasting. Um, let's move on to seventh and throw it back over to you, Ethan.
I'll
Who
go
have
back to
you?
seventh.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, I'm going to go with Kilmarnock. I think will be the last team to miss out on the top six. Since the appointment of Neil McCann, there's definitely been a real enthusiasm amongst the Kilmarnock support and around the club. I think they will improve on last season, of course, but I do think it's a difficult one to call with McCann's relative inexperience, I would say, and sort of management. And I spoke about sink or sort of float earlier, make a break. I think it is sort of that stage for Neil McCann. This is a real opportunity. He's got some great players in the door. He's also lost a lot of key members of that squad, as Kilmarnock do frequently with the contract sort of scenario that they run. Usually it's short-term contracts, as it is for most clubs, but it feels like for some reason Kilmarnock have a lot of key players leaving more often than other sides. Marley Watkins, Matt Kennedy, Bruce Anderson, Liam Polworth, Brad Lyons, Lewis Mayo, and David Watson. They obviously got a good fee for, but I think they've recruited pretty well. Callum Ferry comes in as a good signing and good cover for Max Striek. Opportunity for another Rangers loanee, Bailey Rice, to sort of follow in Finlay Curtis's footsteps at Rugby Park. Mark O'Hara back at Kilmarnock's obviously a good signing, someone who knows the league very well. I think Aaron Tishbola coming back's another great addition for that Kilmarnock squad. And then not new signings, but it'll feel like a new strike partnership, and hopefully it lives up to what everyone thinks it can do. And that's obviously Joe Hugo and Tyrese John Jules. Could be one of the most dangerous strike partnerships in the league, but I think there's a lot of competition, and we'll get onto that later. It was far from vintage in the League Cup from Kilmarnock, but they got through in the end, and of course rewarded with that local rivalry, or that local derby rather, against Ayr United at Rugby Park. So I think
yeah.
it'll be a good season for Kelly, but I think they'll just miss out in top six. But I think they could easily get there. But if I had to place them somewhere, it would be seventh.
I disagree. I've
Oh,
got
okay.
Hibs in seventh.
Oh,
I think Hibs are perhaps shaping up to have a very Hibsy season, losing 2-0 in Conference League qualifying to Malasheva. It's never a good sign when
Oh
you
yeah, sorry to cut you off, Alex. Should we say when that we are recording these? We were recording this on Tuesday, the 28th of July. So that's the football we've seen so far in terms of we haven't seen any of the second legs yet before anybody says that Hibs have turned it round and we're excellent. We're going off what we've seen so far. So just to save our face a little bit there, Alex, in case it all goes
yeah.
wrong.
And in case you didn't watch yesterday's episode, I did predict, not yesterday, the previous episode, I
Yeah.
did predict that Hibs would go out to Malasheva. So yeah, I'm not very high on them. Some of their signings look decent. It's just with it's similar with Dundee United. I think I'm just jaded by the inconsistency of Hibs, and yeah, I think they'll drop off and finish in seventh place. So I before we move on to other positions, do you want to dip back into maybe our shouts for most improved and breakout stars?
Yeah, we could we said if you want to kick it off.
Okay. So for my what should I start on? Most improved or breakout star? Hmm. I'm gonna go with breakout star. Um, and he got a game again in the Conference League qualifying against the side from the Faroe Islands. And it looks like Alfred Johansson is looking to back youth in this Motherwell side. I'm going to go with Ewan Wilson out of Motherwell to sort of put a stamp on his. Obviously, he has some big competition with Emmanuel Longello, who was absolutely incredible last campaign. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the young fullback to make an impact this season and show what he's worth. Because I think we've seen it in flashes. Feels like he's been about for a while. But yeah, I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, funny you say that, Alex, because I've got him here and down here as well. So, yeah, and I completely agree with a lot of what you said. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to really nail down a starting position consistently with Emmanuel Ongelo as the recognised left back, but obviously got the shout for or got the starting position for the opening competitive match of the season. And I think, like we've seen with Jens Berfalascu last season, I think. Johansson will be much of the same, where he will he will rotate the team. Alfred Johansson, the manager, I think he'll be very much like Jens Berfalascu, and with the high intensity football that Motherwell played last season, I think he'll rotate the team a lot, and there'll be a lot of opportunities for Ewan Wilson to get some minutes, and I think he will perform well, especially with the attacking free flowing football that Motherwell play.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So two on the same wavelength there for the breakout star. Okay, next most improved. I'm gonna throw it to you, Ethan, to take this first in case I steal your thunder again.
Yeah, I'm going to go with another striker. In fact, another striker at a big club who didn't have the worst goal tally last season, but I think he can certainly ramp it up this. Aberdeen's Kevin have a really good season. I think he's already started the season in the League Cup on red hot form. Got loads of goals in there, including a hat trick. And I think he obviously probably not scored at the same rate as he did in the League Cup because different level of opponent. But I think he'll have a really good season. And not to give away any of my predictions, but he'll help Aberdeen to a better league finish than obviously what they managed last season. Well, not giving away our prediction because we're already past the point Aberdeen finished last season. But yeah, Kevin Nisbet joins Yusuf Chermiti and my most improved players. Maybe easy selections as strikers, but yeah, that's what I think so far.
I too have gone with a striker, and we've seen red hot form from him in the past for a number of seasons. Unfortunately, last campaign he was plagued with a couple of injuries, and even when he came back, he just didn't look himself. But I'm gonna go with the madman that is Simon Murray to get back on that top goal scorer sort of competition that he's been in for the past few years. He's a proven goal scorer in this league, and for the sake of him and the Dundee fans, I'm hoping last season was just a blip due to injuries and other circumstances because he's like I said, he's a proven goal scorer, and yeah, I'm gonna back him to have a better season.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout and one that I certainly considered. Obviously, like Nisbet got a few goals in the League Cup already, so that's always good to get up and firing in that competition to get the confidence and the players. So yeah, I think some good selections there. Is that
Do you want?
did we select two each there or just one that I selected? Oh well, we technically selected two each because we both picked Ian Wilson.
Yeah. Do you want to go? Do you want to? Because we've got other categories to get through. So do you want to get the last ones in, and then we'll do the
Yeah,
rest of the positions and do the other categories as well.
yeah,
So
okay.
I'm gonna go for another most improved. Firstly, and I'm gonna go for another Motherwell player. I'm gonna go for Reagan Charles Cook. I think he didn't show what he could be last campaign with Motherwell. He was sort of a bit part player in the team, and he's. I just think back to that season with Ross County where he was absolutely excellent, earned his move away from Motherwell. He went to Belgium. However, that didn't seem to work out for him back in Scotland now. Last season, I thought that was a great signing from Motherwell. It hasn't seemed to work out for him so far. Um, uh, but yeah, I'm going to back him to have a really good season.
Yeah, and as you probably rightly point out, it has previous of really good seasons in in Scotland, and obviously the big departures at Motherwell will open the door for him to probably get more minutes in that starting lineup. The third most improved player that I'm going to sort of nominate was a difficult one, but I did land on this player eventually. It has transferred between two clubs actually, but I think based off his performance, probably individually, he would say himself, and as a team last season at St Mirren, I think Mark O'Hara will be looking to improve back at Kilmarnock, and I think he will do, and I think he'll be central to Neil McCann's success if it is to be at Rugby Park.
Okay. That's yeah, I like that. I like that shout. Some outside the box thinking as well. I like it. So uh,
I've
finally,
got one more. I've got one more player to say. I think you might have went twice or something. I've got
oh,
one more break.
yeah, yeah, one more breakthrough.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry,
I
sorry,
was
I
about,
jumped over the top of you.
I was about to say, oh, come on, mate. I've been hosting this for a while. I know what I'm doing here.
All
Come.
right, sorry for doubting you. On you go.
So our final breakthrough star. Um, I realised I'd made a bit of an ubib, I think you could call it, because I think Ethan actually in the brief he sent over to me was for Scottish players, and I've only picked one Scottish player out of the three. But you know what?
That's fine. As long as it's younger players than
Okay, well
that have been
I've
that have kind of mostly developed in Scotland or younger that can really take themselves to the next level this season. I think that's what we're looking for.
okay, I'm gonna go for Owen Elding uh,
Okay.
at Hibs. I think I'm not. I don't think we're looking at a ridiculously good like season, like finishing one of the top scorers in the division. But maybe we're looking at 7 to 10 goals, and I think that would be really impressive from him. He showed talent. He scored a nice goal last campaign. Yeah, I'm gonna back Owen Eldon to have a really good season.
Yeah, I mean, I know where the back of the net was at his previous club, obviously before travelling over to Edinburgh, and I think he has shown a little bit of potential, but you would probably be looking for more from him. And last player I'm going to go for is a player who was the standout probably his last two clubs, but I think he can reach a higher level this season at his new club. He's already scored in the Premier Sports League Cup as Aberdeen's new winger Lewis Smith,
If
who
you were
obviously
going to say that,
was a standout.
You've been quite high on Lewis Smith.
Yeah, no, I think he has what it takes to really go at that next level. Obviously, was a standout in a poor Livingston team. Obviously, was a standout at the Accies or Hamilton Academical, as they're mostly known before making the move to Livy. So yeah, I think he could have a big season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So those are our breakout stars and most improved predictions for the new campaign. Okay, so those are our predictions for breakout stars and most improved players for the upcoming campaign. So let's move on to the rest of the predictions, starting with sixth. Ethan, I'll throw it to you first because mine's a bit of a bombshell.
Oh, a bombshell. Okay, not the direction I thought you were going to go when you sort of excluded Kilmarnock from the bottom six. But I have got Hibs in sixth. I think they will get top six, but I think it'll be another, what would you say, average to poor season by Hibs standards. I think for the quality they've got in that squad, I think they probably should be aiming a lot higher, uh, even to go toe to toe with not exactly what their rivals done last season, but certainly aiming for third place. As you would imagine, isn't off the cards for Hibs, but the opening game against Malasheva, as you referenced to, doesn't give me any confidence or belief in that group of players that they will be able to go again under David Gray and really produce a quality season. I think, as I said, I think they do have enough quality in the squad to maybe emulate what they've done in the second half of the 24-25 season, but they've I don't know that I think they're just it's really stale at Hibs at the minute. If I had to sum them up, they've not really lost too many key players. Menashe Garanaga's loan ended, so he went back to his parent club, Eli Yuan, maybe the only other notable player to leave. All of the recruitment's been from the English Championship and League One, the five players they've brought in. I think the biggest positive for Hibs in the window is that they've kept a hold of Josh Mulligan and Jamie McGrath so far, but just with that performance against Malasheva and Kosovo, it's difficult to really place them any higher than this, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. I'm kind of nervous to say this.
Oh, I think I know
Um,
where he's going here.
Staying in Edinburgh,
Oh,
I have last season's almost champions, Heart of Midlothian, to finish in sixth. I think the drop off's going to be tremendous. Obviously, they were absolutely horsed by Sturm Graz in Champions League qualifying. They've had a lot of squad turnover. They have signed. Do you know what I thought perhaps worked about Derek McInnes last campaign is there was a decent core of Premiership proven players there. He used the Jamestown analytics to sign from like Claudio Braga from the what was it Norwegian second division. Obviously worked out really well. Players like that. Um, but I feel like they've sort of don't have that core. The only sort of player I can think they've signed maybe from in this window that is like from like a Scottish background is Josh McPake, and even that's a bit of a
Calvin
gamble.
Miller.
Well, Calvin Miller as well, of course, but McPake's a bit of a gamble. Miller, Premiership proven, fair enough. But I think a lot of the guys they're signing a vast amount of players from really like low divisions, and I think it is a gamble with a new manager as well, Victor Vranken. However, we were saying this about Hearts last season as well under McInnes, but I just don't think it's the same. If you think about, they've signed Sabri Gendouzi from the Belgian second division. I've looked at his goal record, not the best. They've signed Renault from Ligue 2. They've signed Amadou Bassai from Ligue 2 in France. They've just signed a Forest Green Rovers player. Obviously there does seem to be a bit of a Belgian and French emphasis on the additions as well, which I'd assume is down to a bit of influence from Wouter Rankin. I think some of those did come in before um, he came in the door as well. But um, yeah, I just I don't see it for Hearts unfortunately this season, and I'm going to put them in sixth position.
Yeah, well, that's definitely your, I'd imagine, most bold shout of the predictions so far. And I think that'll be the one that maybe we can debate on when we get to where I'm going to place them. But in fifth place, I'm going to go with not quite as excellent a season as last, but still a very good season, especially with the circumstances of what's went on this summer. It will be Motherwell, in my opinion, to retain their spot in the top six. I don't think, as I said, I don't think they'll have the same level of success they did last season under Jens Berfalascu. I think you can maybe call that an anomaly. Branded at some points the best team in Scotland, playing the best football in Scotland. A lot of people said, and at one short point, they were, and we were willing to accept that they were title contenders. They've obviously lost some very key players to that success, on top of losing their manager, Eli Just, Elliot Watt, Callum Slattery, Callum Ward, and Stephen Welsh, obviously going back to Celtic before moving down south, and expected to lose to Wanda Maswanise as well.
Do
You
you
want to
know
say
this
something there,
sounds?
Alex?
No, no, I'm just saying. Do you know this sounds silly? Um, because I've placed Motherwell fairly high. But it sounds silly because of all the points I made about Motherwell. I could make them about, sorry, all the points I've made about
Yeah,
Hearts. I can make them about Motherwell. But I just feel like Motherwell have a better structure in place to me. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I look at Motherwell and the way they're signing and the manager they've brought in, and um, it just looks. I don't know. I just get a better feeling about it. It just it feels safer, if you know what I mean, than a Hearts. So that's the reason why I've placed them above them. In my fifth place, I've got this is another quite big shout. You've not, as you might have noticed, I've not mentioned Kilmarnock yet. I'm going to back Neil McCann to finish fifth in the league table. I think they've signed pretty well, like you said earlier, Ethan. If Joe Hugel and Tyrese John Jules can stay fit and get firing, that's a scary strike force to deal with. Mark O'Hara, I think he's one of the best players in the division outside of like the upper echelons. He always gives Rangers trouble whenever he plays against them as well. He's one that scored a few goals and he's been absolutely everywhere on the pitch also. So I'm going to back Mark O'Hara to have a really good season. Much like you saying, he most improved, improving on obviously his last campaign. So yeah, and obviously I'm hoping Bailey Rice does well at Kilmarnock. But yeah, I'm going to place them in fifth before we move on to the top four. But firstly, we've got another couple of categories, and I think this is perhaps a good time to talk about top scorer and the top assister in the division, and see who we think will be at the top of those charts at the end of the campaign. Obviously, I think one of the contenders we mentioned earlier in the podcast has signed for Celtic today, Casper Hogg, for top goal scorer. There's a few others. You obviously need to, if he's still there, you could speak about Tawanda Maswanise. We spoke about Yusuf Chermiti, Claudio Braga, Lawrence Shankland, of course, signing for Rangers. I think based on his pre-season form, you could throw Camille Duran's hat into the ring. So there's a few candidates there, Ethan. But who do you think will finish the top scorer in the Scottish Premiership?
I think it will be someone who was right up the top of the charts last season, and that is Lawrence Shankland. I think his move to Rangers will only provide him with better opportunity playing with a team that I think will be able to create more chances on a more consistent basis this season than what Hearts did last season. And I think he'll just be able to manage more goals. He obviously had that injury stint as well throughout the season with Hearts, and I think if he stays fit, then he'll score a silly amount of goals for Rangers. So yeah, he's my top goal scorer, and I wouldn't really place anyone above him. He just knows the league inside out. He knows what it takes to score goals in Scotland, and that you couldn't really say for maybe any of the other big strikers we're going to talk about at Celtic or Rangers. If you're looking at them as the threats to Lawrence Shankland, but of course, open to hearing suggestions on other players that you think might be able to beat him out.
Yeah, I've also gone with a Rangers player, but I'm going with Big Yusuf Chermiti. I sort of alluded to that the other day. I said Yusuf Chermiti, 25 league goals. Um, I'm going to stand by it. Yusuf Chermiti will finish top scorer in the Scottish Premiership with a boatload of goals. I think, though, this season we could see like a proper golden boot race for the first time in a while, like two or three guys scoring more than the rest, if you know what I mean. Because for the last couple of seasons, we've not. I think the last one over 20 was Kyogo, like 2 or 3 years ago, when he scored 27. Like no, I don't think anyone scored 20 plus league goals since that point. So I think we will see that potentially with the likes of Lawrence Shankland, Yusuf Chermiti, Casper Hogg, Camille Duran possibly as well. So I think both sides have a really interesting strike force, and as it'll be a race for the golden boot and a race for the title, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah. Well,
So
sorry, Alex.
sorry.
It plays into my question that I was going to drop on you, and I think I probably know your answer now that you've said Shamiti is top scorer. But what strike force between the two strikers at Rangers, the two strikers that Celtic have signed? Who do you think is going to score more goals in the Scottish Premiership?
Shankland and Chermiti easily.
Easily. Okay.
Nah, I
Okay.
think it'll be
No,
tight.
I I
I
agree.
think
I
it,
think they will. I think they will.
yeah, I think it'll be tight, but I think they both have the benefit of having played in the league already. Chermiti, obviously, you backed him to have that breakout campaign, or most improved rather. Um, and obviously, Lawrence Shanklin's been scoring goals in this league for as long as I can remember. So yeah, I think it will be the two of them. Most assists in this Premiership campaign. Um, this is interesting. I'm actually going to go with somebody who I think who I was talking about in the perhaps being in the goal scoring shout. Because I think with the signing of Casper Hogg, he might be playing on the wings. I'm going to say Camille Duran to finish with the most assists in the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah, well, I agree. I have his name noted down here as also. So, yeah, I think we got the same thinking there. Obviously, already got off the mark in that category for Celtic against Milan, where obviously he scored 3 goals and an assist this season. I think he is a player who's going to be moved about and used very, what would you say? I don't know what the word would be. He's going to be used as a versatility option in attack for Celtic. Obviously, I think Casper Hogg is going to be a penalty box striker. He's going to be the man you look for as a sort of presence in the box, whereas I think Duran will maybe be getting on the ball a little bit more, runs in behind. He's obviously a very intense presser, as we've seen already as well. So yeah, I think I'd probably say him, and I think the way we're predicting it, we do expect both strike forces to score or combine or be involved, whatever you want to call it, in a bucket load of goals for this
Yeah, I
upcoming
think,
season.
see, based on how I think Lawrence Shankland will be involved, he could have a few assists this campaign. I think he's might be deployed as more of a facilitator and Chermiti will be, pushed a bit further forward. So I think he could potentially be in the running for the assists as well. But obviously, we're getting to the top of the table. Our minds are going to Rangers and Celtic, so it's going to get a bit Rangers and Celtic heavy. But before, obviously, I think we've got one of the two in the top. We've got the both in the top two. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler to say. But obviously, before
Have
we
we?
get,
Have we?
yes, we do. I don't think that's much of a spoiler. But before we get on to that, obviously we have third, or sorry, fourth and third to get to. Okay, so moving on to fourth place in the Scottish Premiership, I am going to go with Motherwell. I'm to finish in fourth. I think they'll have quite a good season. Again, under Alfred Johansson, I was impressed with them in their opening Conference League qualifier. Like I said, he looks like he wants to promote youth, which I'm quite excited about. I think they've signed quite well. Obviously, Moorman impressing on his debut for Motherwell as well, scoring an absolute belter. So yeah, I'm gonna back the Steelmen, back the well to finish fourth and have another good season in the Scottish Premiership. I will preface this by saying I don't think they'll be quite as good as they were last campaign, but I think they will finish in fourth, and it will be another enjoyable season and possibly another European tour for the Motherwell fans.
Yeah, possibly. And I would agree with you. I think the way the football club's been run recently has been excellent, and that's why I've got them finishing just below you. But in fourth, I have the Dons. Aberdeen will make a return to the top six. I think Stephen Robinson will work his top six magic, you could say, and return Aberdeen closer to where they feel they belong. And maybe goes against, I'm guessing you and the viewers have worked out that I've still got Hearts to obviously place, which will go against the usual theory, which Aberdeen and Hearts can't have a good season at the same time. Usually it's one or the other that falls victim to falling outside of the top six or having a poor season. I think we know with Stephen Robinson, it's not always the most prettiest style of football, but as we see Mirren, and that's what Aberdeen need at the moment. They need to get into a routine of winning matches, they obviously convincingly progressed through, which will bring confidence throughout the group and an opportunity to for a fresh start really under the manager because at the end of last season it was a little bit open. He's brought in some good new players who know the league, like Smith, who we've mentioned for the and the players to depart. The notable ones, I would say, Topi Keskinen, who they probably made their money back on, Alexander Jensen, Graham Shea, of course, big character. I think his days playing in the Premiership were over.
I think Stephen Robinson's made a statement by allowing a lot of the higher earners to leave, and he's signed a lot of good players, a number of proven players as well. You mentioned there Lewis Smith, obviously, Brad Lyons and Lewis Mayo coming in the door also. They've also signed some players from abroad, like I'm going to butcher this name, Ayub Maloula, the Moroccan striker. That's the pronunciation I'm going to go with until I hear something different. But yeah, no, I think they've ran the window really well. Tony Yogan as well, I think it's a good signing. So uh, yeah, and they've got a new keeper in also after maybe some of the issues with Dimitar Mitov last campaign, which is why obviously I have them in the place above. But I agree with a lot of your points, Ethan. So yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. And in third, I have went for Hearts. Yeah, no crazy prediction here. I think Hearts will fall to third place, despite the disappointment at the hands of Sturm Graz and that thrashing. Of course, they've got the return leg at Tynecastle tonight, and it's a massive game for I think for Wouter Rankin's tenure already. Because if it doesn't go well tonight, then there could be real pressure on him from the get go. He's been a really solid manager previously in Belgium. We obviously spoke about the recruitment, or you did, of the sort of Belgium and French connection. But I think it's been proven that under Tony Bloom, this model has succeeded. And yeah, sometimes you need to take a sort of sideward step, maybe you could say, or maybe a slight backward step compared to last season. But this wasn't meant to happen this quickly. This is meant to be a long term project, and I think they'll prove why it's been successful. And finishing third behind Celtic and Rangers isn't always the worst thing, especially after the players they've lost, of course. Lawrence Shanklin, Cammy Devlin, Frankie Ken, Alan Forrest, Michael Steinwender, and Alexander Swallow, who we were debating whether it was the 1st or 30th of August that he was leaving, but it is the 1st of August that he's going to Mainz. So I think tonight will probably be his last game for Hearts. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Obviously, Craig Gordon away as well and his experience, and Benny Maringame looks to have left as well. So yeah, a massive turnover at Hearts, but you could possibly say it's a little bit of a scattergun approach with the amount of players that they brought in, but with the analytics, it's been proven that some of them will succeed at Tynecastle, and if enough of them do, then I think Hearts can have another promising season. Maybe not as dramatic as last time out, but another season striving towards Tony Bloom's eventual goal of winning the Scottish Premiership.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Just because I predicted them to finish so low, it doesn't mean I'm not, it doesn't mean I'm blind to the other possibilities. I just, you know me, I like a bit of controversy, so that's part of the reason why I've got them so low. Also, along with my other reasons. However, before we move on to the main event, the finale, who we think will win the Scottish Premiership. We have a few more categories to get through. So I'm going to go, let's go for predictions for Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and Signing of the Season. We'll start with Player of the Year, Ethan. Who are you going to back to win the award?
Player of the Year. Okay, who am I going to back to win the award? I will go with Celtic's new signing, not the newest one, the previous one. We spoke about him leading the charts in assists. I don't think he'll be shy of finding the back of the net either. I think Camille Duran is showing, and friendlies, of course, but I think he's shown all the ingredients to being an excellent Celtic player, and I think he'll be the real catalyst behind a good season for Celtic. Whether they win the league or not, I will reveal shortly, but I think he will be the best player in Scotland this season.
Okay, okay. I'm going to go with a Rangers signing. I alluded to the fact that I think he will also be up there in the assist charts. He's not shy of the goals. I'm going to go with Lawrence Shankland to win Premiership Player of the Year. I think he will be instrumental in Rangers' possible success this season. I think he will definitely score some goals, although I predicted Yusuf Shamiti to finish top scorer. I think Shankland will be up there also. And I think that he will be involved in the play. He'll get involved in the assists. So yeah, I'm backing him to win Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year. Now the cap on that is 23, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I've been struggling to find a young player of the year to nominate because it's so difficult, especially with the well, because some of them are going to turn 24 by the time it comes round. So how does that work?
I
I
think
don't
it's like
know.
if you're 23
But
when the
there's a
season
lot of young.
starts.
Ah, okay. Well, you know who I'm going to go with? Maybe a little bit of a boring prediction after last season. He could have won it last season. Um, he didn't win it last season, I'm pretty sure, in the end. But I think he will win it certainly this season. I think he'll play a major role back at his parent club. I am going to go with Finlay Curtis.
Wow, okay, um, big shout. I think it was Mikey Moore who actually won it last season.
Yeah.
And if he comes back to Rangers, I'd predict him to win it again. But I don't know if, please, we need wingers so desperately. Yeah, I'm hoping we get Cherry and Mikey Moore. That's the dream scenario. But I don't think that'll happen. But yeah, young player of the year. I'm gonna go with a guy you've been. Um, Oh, let me just double check. Is he in the? I'm sure he is. He's a young boy.
I think he might be just outside.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not
Yeah.
as young as I thought he was.
No, he's been about. He's been about for quite a while. Yeah.
Okay. Um. Oh. Oh no. Right.
Do you want to come back to it?
No, no, no. I'll think of somebody just to chuck in there. Uh. No. Let me think.
Ooh, I
That's
actually missed someone that could have
it's
been
tough, isn't it?
Yeah, as I actually missed someone which could have a big season. Two strikers obviously signed in his area of the field, but I think if he can stay fit, then I think Callum Osmond could have a really big season for Celtic.
Oh, you've actually reminded me of someone. Let me just double check. He's not too old. You've reminded me of someone there when you were talking about Callum Osmond, and I was just checking if he's young enough because I think he's just on the threshold. I'm going to go with a Rangers striker who we've not spoken about. I'm going to go with Ryan Nadiri to win Young Player of the season. I think genuinely think Rangers have the best like striker options in the league. Um, you know, until we see Casper Hogg and Camille Duran in the Scottish Premiership, I think, you come back to me in a couple months, it might be different. But I think right now, if you look at Rangers striking options, Lawrence Shankland, Yusuf Chermiti, and Ryan Nadiri is still to prove himself, I think. But yeah, I'm gonna go with him to win Young Player of the Year. Um,
Miovski, is he not even getting a mention?
oh, yeah, I forgot about him. Get him out the door. No, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Ryan Nadiri to win Young Player of the Year. Okay, Now, might be a similar answer to you, Ethan, if you're backing him for player of the season. Who have you got for signing of the season?
Yeah, Camille Duran. Yeah, he's picking up a lot of awards here, but I've just seen a lot from him already, and I think he seems really hungry to make it stick at Celtic for him, and I think he will do. He's proven himself in the Champions League at Karabag, and his new teammate Casper Hogg. I think they have all the tools it takes to be successes at Celtic, but I think Duran's hit the ground running so far, and I think he'll carry that into the first game against Stephen Presley's side at Celtic Park.
Okay, okay. Signing of the season, I am going to go with the Rangers player. I'm going to go with Lawrence Shankland again, as same as my player of the season. Um,
We've been quite top heavy on our predictions. We don't really went for any defenders or that, but we do think there's going to be an absolute ridiculous amount of goals, I think, scored between Celtic and Rangers
I think
strikers.
it
So,
could be. I think it could be an absolute bloodbath, man. Genuinely, I think it could get bad for some of the other teams in the division. I think it's going to be a really, really. I think we're going to. I think it's going to be a real two-horse race this season. Um, and the winner of that two-horse race for me is going to be
drum roll, you got a drum roll?
Rangers.
Okay.
Obviously, of course, I'm going to say Rangers. I think Rangers
Why
will.
obviously? Why is it obviously Rangers?
Well, that's who I'm going to say. I'm never going to predict Celtic to win the league, am I?
Well, you might. If you thought Celtic were going to win the league, you should say you think Celtic are going to win the league. That's the whole point of the
I don't think
prediction.
I've ever thought Celtic are going to win the league, though. I'm just deluded.
Right,
Um,
okay. Well, at least you can be honest about it.
so
That's the
yeah, I'm going to go with Rangers to win the league. What I will say, I think they do still need some additions, another centre back, and like I said, wingers. But if we can get those final pieces in the door, I think this squad is looking really, really strong. Um, I think it hinges as well on Dujon and Sterling being fit. I think if he can stay fit, I think he's probably Derek McInnes's preferred choice to start at right back over Ross McCrory as well. I think if Sterling can stay fit for the whole campaign, he'll be excellent. Obviously, there's a couple of players who've still yet to see tested properly, like the goalkeeper Ivor Pandur, Vanja Dragojevic is yet to make an appearance. I think he's still waiting on visa approval, work visa approval. However, he is expected to be on the squad for Friday night. Rangers also expected to announce a signing in the next few days, maybe even today. So yeah, I think as long as we can get a couple more pieces in, um, I think Rangers will win the league. Not comfortably, mind you. I think the signing of Casper Hogg has really swung things closer, in my opinion, because that, like I said, I'll stand by what I said. I think Rangers currently have the best strike force in the league, but if Kamir Duran and Casper Hogg can hit the ground running, that's a scary combination. So, yeah, I think I will say I think it will be tight and it could go either way. But I'm always going to back Rangers to win the league.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I'll reveal who I think's going to finish second first, and then
It doesn't make any sense.
no, it's the order we've been going in. Well, I mean, some people maybe will this opinion controversial because it's coming from me, and
No
yeah,
way.
I think uh, I think a large majority of well, not a large majority, but a lot of supporters in Glasgow believe this is where this club belongs. So I think second place will be, or I think sorry, yes, I think second place will be Rangers. Will finish in
Oh,
second.
you really wrapped it up there as if you were going to predict Rangers to win the league.
Yeah, I did. I did. Obviously, Rangers returning to finishing second because they finished third last season. That was the joke, and the Celtic fans obviously believe that Rangers belong in second. If anybody needed through the explanation of that. But no, I completely agree with one of your last points that you just said there. With Casper Hogger, I think just alters the balance back in Celtic's favour. I think if you're looking at the strength of a squad wise, I would say we have more in more areas that you would trust. But I think if you're looking at the strongest starting 11s, I think Celtic just get too many players that are just better than Rangers across the starting 11. Maybe deeper in the season when injuries come into it, if you were looking at the current squads, then you would maybe fancy Rangers to go a bit further. But there's still another
Well,
month of the transfer
Rangers
window
have
ahead
better
of it.
goalkeepers, better centre backs.
No, no, the
Uh,
thing is, though, we're talking about the starting 11. It doesn't mean how many. You could have three world class goalkeepers, but if you've got the best goalkeeper in the world, then it doesn't really matter.
Rangers do have the best goalkeeper. I'm putting
Okay, no, no,
the
that's fair. I'm not really up for debating at each position. That's not really what that's for. But I think Celtic
yeah.
have.
Let's do it right now. So Pandur versus Sarasalo, Fernandez and Godfrey clear of all the Celtic centre backs easily. Uh, Two
I just don't think.
Robins.
I don't. I think Celtic are better defensively. I think Celtic have got probably better midfielders playing at their best, and I think Celtic have got the potential to have better strikers. So yeah, I think obviously the Celtic fans have rightfully, you would say, probably been frustrated with the lack of recruitment throughout the window so far, but they've signed two, on the face of it, look like excellent signings with proven quality of scoring goals in the Champions League. And there's obviously there's proven quality scoring goals in the Scottish Premiership, which Yusuf Chamati and of course no more so than Lawrence Shankland have got, but that's different to being a regular scorer in the Champions League last season. So yeah, I think Martin O'Neill also has the edge over Derek McInnes. He knows what it takes to win league titles. He's got experience doing it, and I think Celtic will get a few more bodies in. I don't think Celtic will really push the boat out too much to really surprise the Celtic fans and the fact that they've brought in so many players. But I think they'll get a few more bodies in, maybe a winger, maybe a midfielder or two, and a left back and a goalkeeper, of course, are essential. But as you said, I think it'll be a really tight title race and a really tough one to call. And I can't really argue with you going with Rangers, but I just back Celtic because I think they've still got the strongest starting lineup, and they've obviously got the recent history of getting the job done. So yeah, that's my prediction.
Sorry, I just got a bit distracted and started making faces there. But
Yeah, I seen that. I seen that. Very professional of you.
yeah, no, I can see the reasoning there as well. Obviously, we'll agree to disagree as my focus just decides to uh,
Yeah,
abandon me. There we
no,
go.
you're back. You're back.
But yeah, no, we'll agree to disagree, and I guess we'll see at the end of the season. But I think that'll do it for today's episode.
Are we not
Um,
going to do? Are we not going to do predict the rest of the Scottish
oh
leagues?
yeah,
Quick,
of
who's
course,
the
of
winner
course.
and
So we'll
the
start.
cups as well if you want to do them.
Okay, we'll do the cups as well. So we'll start on the League Cup. I'm gonna go with Rangers.
Quite boring, but I just think Celtic will fly out the gates of this season. I think they've got a really good run in the league, fixture wise, to start the season. I think that'll help them in the League Cup. And like I said about maybe squad depth will play into it. I'll reveal my Scottish Cup winners now. I think Rangers will take the Scottish Cup. I think they'll be stronger later in the season, but I think Celtic will win the League Cup. Martin O'Neill will get the trophy, the opportunity to win the Scottish Cup.
Sorry, you cut out there when you were talking about the League Cup and Martin O'Neill there.
And who do you? I said that I think Martin O'Neill will get the opportunity to win the League Cup this time around that he never did last season. But I think Rangers will finish the season strong and therefore win the Scottish Cup. Who do you have winning the on the final day?
Rangers treble, treble season for Derek McInnes.
Okay, no, I'm not going to disagree because we're just the long time viewers are used to this these predictions from Alex. He is he's very
Right,
bullish.
one day I'll be right if you know by the laws of probability. One day I will be right.
Well, you could start with winning the league first before you start winning trebles, though. Surely, no.
Why why wait? Just get them all at once. So moving on, we'll go to the SWPL first, and I'm gonna go with Rangers to win the SWPL.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I can't really have too much dispute with that, but I am going to go with Glasgow City to win the SWPL. Of course, it's been shared amongst five teams in recent seasons, which have been excellent. But I think Glasgow City, the record winners, will reclaim the title.
Okay, the Scottish Championship. The Jags have experienced a lot of playoff heartbreak for many, many years, but I'm going to back them to skip over all that and win the championship and come straight back up. Not straight back up, straight up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card shout, but they looked excellent in the League Cup group stages, and they have an excellent tie coming up. New manager who has got a lot of previous experience of getting teams promoted. I'm going to go with Ayr United under Gary Naismith to win the championship.
Wow, okay, big shout, big shout. Maybe we'll actually see some more frequent Ayrshire derbies. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, League One. I'm gonna go on my hometown team to go back to back league winners. I'm gonna go East Kilbride.
I think that's very much on the cards, but I can't look past Ross County. I think they've looked excellent to start the season. The recruitment's been really good, and I think they will just pip EK to the League One title.
All right, Murna Kilby. So now we're gonna go for League Two. That took me way longer than it should have to predict. To predict. Oh God, I'm losing it here. Ethan, take it away.
Yeah, League Two. I think the obvious maybe would be the Spartans after last season losing out, just losing out to East Kilbride in the end and not getting promoted for the playoffs. But I have got to stick with my hometown team. This is probably the most delusional prediction of the day from me, but I think Dumbarton will win League Two, or I hope Dumbarton will win League Two now that they don't have any points deductions to worry about, and hopefully can move forward as a football club.
Okay.
With actually, sorry, Alex, and they've got a plastic pitch now, Dumbarton. They switched out the grass for plastic, so they've yeah. So maybe that'll be the winning formula for them.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I am going to go for Clyde. To win League Two. They obviously finished third last season, and behind the Spartans and East Kilbride. The Spartans obviously ran East Kilbride fairly close, but I think they're due for a bit of a drop off. I think it started last season. They've not particularly impressed me in the League Cup. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with Clyde to win League Two.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And have we missed anything? I think that might be us.
Yeah, that is it for today's episode. It's been a long one. We've been dealing with technical issues again, so if we're a little bit incoherent in points, please forgive us. Um, uh, and if you've stuck with us the whole way through, thank you so much. And let us know your predictions for the Scottish Premiership in the comments section down below. Let us know any controversial predictions you have, something akin to Falkirk finishing in 11th and Hearts finishing in 6th? Is there anything? Have you got Celtic or Rangers in the bottom half? Have you got St Johnstone winning the league? Let us know in the comment section down below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Check us out on all platforms, the Twitter, the TikTok, Spotify as well. Obviously, if you want to listen to us on the go, it can be a little bit easier on the Spotify rather than the YouTube, because it's the worst thing when you're trying to listen to a YouTube video and all the random ads are coming up, and maybe you've got something that got it in your pocket and it clicks onto an advert link or something like that. So that's the worst thing. So if it's easier for you, jump over onto the Spotify. It would be much appreciated. And yeah, we hope you enjoy the new season. I think next time we talk to you, that'll be the case. So the first weekend of the SPFL will have concluded. So um, enjoy the football coming up. I've really long-winded this outro. Thank you and goodbye.